I didn't love myself, and you give power and influence to the wrong people. Look how it turns out. You have to hype yourself up, and nobody else on the external is hyping you up. You have Hello and welcome back to Ascension with V. I am your host, Stashia Jeanette, aka V, and today is going to be kind of a little combination episode. So, diving into it, update, I am doing better. I kind of cracked the code on how I ended up here with my health, how I ended up getting to this point of having sort of what I frequently speak about is tower moments. And it's essentially where, the universe has been trying to knock, knock, knock and tell you, hey, you need to bring attention to this area of your life, or hey, you need to stop doing this kind of thing, or hey, it's time for you to leave this place, or it's time for you to leave that job, or it's time for you to end this relationship. But like, you just opted out. You just chose to ignore all signs and symptoms, all warnings from the universe. And you essentially end up at the point of no return where God Source Universe steps in and says, okay, bet. So since you're not going to do it willingly, then I'll do it for you forcibly. And then those forcibly moments are almost always times where it's a not favorable outcome or situation that you go through or experience to get you out of the aforementioned things that you should have left, or to correct the issue that you should have corrected prior to, or whatever the case may be, right? So I call those tower moments. They're things that really jolt your soul awake and kind of force you to look at things that you were pretending to not look at, or whatever the case may be here. So my situation was very clearly brought to me about a week ago. And I was sitting at the dinner table and I was talking to my mom, and I was like, shit, like this is the thing. This is what happened, how I got here. And the how I got here was I had just been pouring and pouring and pouring and pouring and pouring energetically out into the universe, out into the collective, out into everybody that I meet and come in contact with, just consistently pouring and pouring and pouring, and I had nothing left in my well to pour for myself. I had nothing left in my well to give for myself, for my own nurturing, for my own healing, for my own growth, for my own rejuvenation. I was beyond E. And I think, if I'm being honest with myself, I was beyond E for months, years, and every year prior to this, though, like, pause. So for about 3 years, I didn't have really like a huge tower moment event where it affected my health physically. So I'm not to say that I didn't have like things that kind of culminated over a year that I hadn't addressed or dealt with, that kind of bubbled to the surface emotionally or maybe even mentally, took a toll on me. But for the last 3 years, I really hadn't had anything like that physically broke me down to where I ended up in the hospital, or to where I ended up having to have a surgery, or you know what I'm saying? Like some sort of physical health intervention type situation. And so I will say, like I'm big on trying to reward oneself for accomplishments and things of this nature. So I will say, like, I am proud of myself for at least getting to the point of acknowledging my body's cues. And I will also attribute that to me being off of all the medications that were very much suppressing my connection to my body and my mind and self, and also kind of doing the work that I've been doing over the last year on reconnecting to my body and reconnecting to, reestablishing that brain body connection that like I said, was previously severed, or if I'm being completely honest, was never there to begin with. So that, that coupled with me being off of the medication, and that coupled with me being more cognizant about what is going on in my world and in my life, and standing up for myself more, I think is what really ultimately led to cutting out the dramatic, really traumatizing physical health issues that I had previously experienced, like, I would say from 10 to 20 2020, like, these were times where it was like I've mentioned multiple times, these were times where I was in the hospital every year, multiple times, throughout the year, or I was having a surgery or multiple surgeries throughout the year. So re re regaining the conversation from where we paused at, I feel like this time, me not having or me having this physical health issue that I had was because what I hadn't addressed or the pattern that I hadn't recognized previously was the lesson of mastering no longer pouring from just being okay, right? Or no longer giving when I'm just like slightly balanced, or if I just have enough. If I just have enough energy to do the basic necessities of things, right? So I liken it to kind of if you have $500 in your account, but there's like an item that's $450. Yeah, technically you have enough to purchase that item, but you still have the rest of the month to go through. You still have other things that you need to buy. Like if you just want to buy a PS5 and you've not bought any groceries or you've not paid your utilities, like it's just because technically you have enough to cover what it is that you want or to cover like that one thing, it doesn't mean that you really have enough to give and be okay. Right. So I was doing the thing of like pouring when I had like just enough to skate by, when really I honestly, it's like my energetic account was on negative, in the negative massively, and in the hundred thousands, negative hundred thousands, because I, j- I, I'll keep it a buck hundred. I had not ever been an overflow of an abundance of energy. I had never been energetically well off, right? And it's because, again, it's like I was just continuously handing out and handing out and handing out, where, it's like being an energetic billionaire, and I kept none of my billions for myself. I just was giving all my billions to everybody, and I was like, "Oh no, it's okay. Like I don't need anything. Like I'll just be over here, in my little hut wearing no clothes." Like an episode of Damn Naked and Afraid. It's this mentality essentially that I had myself in, and it's not like it was something that was immediately affecting me, and it's not like it was something that really hit me over the head, like right off the bat, because had I have gotten the message, then I would have obviously intervened or cut the pattern off, well before it got to this point. But I just did not. And sometimes I think that's just how things are meant to be. You're meant to kind of go through the shit, and you're meant to kind of learn the lessons, and you're meant to kind of see just how much people will continue to take from you, like even when you're on bended knee, like even when they see that you have really nothing left to give, they'll be like, "Oh, but I see you still got some shoes on, let me get those up off you." Even if shoes are the only thing that you still have on your naked body, they'll be like, but I see you still got some shoes on. Oh wait, hold up, you still got those socks on, let me take those socks. Right. And that's like what was experienced. That's like what I was experiencing, right? Like it was this of, because I so willingly, so frequently, so often, would put myself on the back burner to ensure that the needs of others were met. My physical body and health was taking a toll. And when you are not able to understand and identify the pattern and the cause of what it is that is ailing you, it will continue to happen. Let me say it again very clearly. When you are experiencing a symptom, an ailment, a problem, these things will continuously happen to you, will continue to take a toll on you, will continue to repeat throughout your life until you are able to identify why it is happening, what the lesson behind it is, and acknowledge it, name it, right? And after that, that's it. Is done. It's over. It cannot keep happening. Which is why they say history ignored is doomed to repeat itself. Because when you can't recognize the pattern, when you can't recognize what's happening, when you don't know what has happened prior to in history, when you don't know what has happened, what choices or mistakes or patterns had happened before, then you're not able to recognize it when they come back around as like a, hey, have you learned this lesson yet? Hey, have you learned this lesson yet? Right? And you're not able to get off of the exit. You're going to continuously miss your exit from the merry-go-round, from the crazy train, because you're unaware that you've been doing this cycle before, that you've ridden this ride before. So once you are able to identify and once you're able to understand the lesson, then you can very quickly, easily, effortlessly cut the shit off at the path and move on. You can get that clearance from that lesson and you will never have to continuously repeat it again, right? And I'm gonna put the disclaimer out here now. I'm not saying that if you're like me and you've got some health things going on, that immediately when you recognize, oh, well, like this thing energetically or spiritually was affecting me. So now that I've identified it and now that I've addressed it, then I'm immediately going to be cured of everything that I have going on. Like I'm not signing off on that. And again, I can only speak from the things that are happening and have been happening and are working for and with me. And that's it. Just from my own personal experience, every single time that I've been able to sit down, process, deeply introspect and analyze the things that were taking place, recognize the patterns that have been happening, and exactly, I think I've mentioned this in one of my other podcasts before, but like I got down when I was in my 20s because I could do nothing. I literally could do nothing but sit in bed. I made a detailed journal. Like I had 2 notebooks that I had gone through of like just data of, okay, on this month, this is what happened. On this day, these are the things that I did. This is what happened after I did these things, like down to the microscopic detail of like, okay, so I drank alcohol, and when I drank alcohol, this is how I acted, or this is the way that it affected me, and these are the feelings. And then like, what time was it that I was doing this? Who was I around? I really Sherlock Holmed my life to like pull apart, pick apart, and look at every single thing that was happening to me in my 20s to be like, what's happening? What part of this am I playing and imposing on myself that I can cut out of the mix right now? And that's like real thing. And I know not everybody has that desire to really deep dive into the self and get their hands dirty and get into the nitty-gritty of the psyche of their inner world and universe, but like I'm telling you, the data spoke for itself with me where, again, nobody likes looking, nobody likes looking at like the black and white and being like, oh, so I see it was just me effing myself mostly. Like, nobody likes that. Nobody wants to like do the Scooby-Doo, pull the mask off and like see their own damn face, like, oh, it was me. Nobody likes that shit. But like, this is just the part of it. I feel like I'm gonna ruffle some feathers on saying this, but like this is why I feel like the idea of there being something external to you that either gives you good things or gives you bad things, it deflects from the accountability of your own self. It deflects from the universal law of cause and effect, right? Like something that you're doing is setting in motion the things that affect you. And like that's something that can be scientifically proven. Like this is a real thing. The universal law of cause and effect is something that a lot of people don't want to accept and grasp because it requires you to take accountability for the things that happen to you and your life, right? But like life is a lot easier when you can throw accountability and you can throw blame and you can throw everything internal that you should be taking accountability for external to you onto some external thing, right? So like the perfect example is when something great happens to you, you're like, yes, thank you, whatever thing, or when something bad happens, you want to be like, oh, it's the devil. The devil did this to me. It was the devil. But like, it's inside you. It's you. You're both. You're both of the things. It's you. It's you. It's you. It's you. So when we have created the ultimate scapegoat of accountability, worldwide, it really kind of does us a huge disservice to our well-being, to our lives, and to the ability to manifest and to heal ourselves. Because we're so conditioned to believe that we are powerless in every aspect of our lives, and that is not so. You can do incredible things with the mind, but you have to be able to control your mind, and you have to be aware and cognizant of the things that are going on and taking place and happening within your body, within your vessel, within your energetic bodies as well. And being present is a huge part of that as well. If you're not able to sit in your own company, like just in silence, or just go outside in nature and look at the birds and look at the trees blowing, look at the wind blowing, listen to the wind, like, when is the last time you just sat outside and basked in the ambiance of nature? It's these things. If you're unable to do that and just have solitude with yourself, this is what I mean. But this is something that a lot of us as humans have very quickly forgotten how to do, and it's really negatively affecting our physical bodies and our mental well-being as a whole. So when I realized that my lack of understanding the pattern of giving too much, of doing too much, of essentially kind of just sacrificing myself for the highest good, and like not even getting like any kind of return from it. And again, it's not like I do what I do, or I am the way that I am in expectation of somebody doing something for me in return. Like, it's not that, but there should always be an expectation of an energetic reciprocity, right? Like, things should always be reciprocal in like some way, shape, or form, regardless, because otherwise the scales are going to continuously be unbalanced, and you're going to be dipped into the danger zone where I was at, or where I just was at, because you're not leveling the scales, you're not balancing it, and you're not pouring into yourself enough to have the capability to heal yourself, or to have the capability to plant new seeds and water new seeds into yourself and nourish yourself. So since I came to like the aha moment of realization, and I felt it instantly. Like I said, I was sitting at the table having dinner with my mom, and I was like, oh shit, this is what it is. And as soon as I like spoke it out loud and like said the things, like I immediately felt like life enter back into me, is the only way that I can describe it. And I'm not gonna pretend like the nutcracker syndrome thing isn't like a still contributing factor for me, because like it is. But my nausea instantly was like better, my inability to eat was instantly like better. It's almost like it was just wringing my chakra system tighter and tighter and tighter and tighter and tighter, like just squeezing it like a wet rag, just draining every drop of like energy and life that I had out of me. The longer that I kept missing the exit, or the longer that I kept not understanding why that was happening. And then the moment that I was like, oh, it's like the grip started to loosen, and so I was being affected in the my abdomen, right? So it's the solar plexus chakra, and that is very much your life point, life, what am I trying to say? Life essence of energy right here. And so no wonder that I was having this narrowing, stricturing of the SMA area. And yeah, it was just a really like wild out of body experience to experience while being in the body. And and I wanted to talk about this because it is such a powerful thing, and it's something that for all my spoonies, for all my people that have any kind of rare diseases or things going on, if anybody has Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, anybody that has like any kind of health afflictions going through, can I can and will say with strong confidence that a lot of the stuff that you experience physically is because of some stuff that is happening spiritually, energetically, and mentally. It's a whole thing, and when you're only trying to address, just like, say you're just going to the doctor, but a lot of us in the Ehlers-Danlos community or with these rare diseases, we're going to the doctors and we've got these symptoms and we've got these ailments and we've got this, like the pain, the stabbing pain in the abdomen, or we're having the pelvic pain, or we're having the low back pain, or we're having the this, that, and the third, and we're fatigued and we're vomiting and we all these things are happening to us, right? But like blood work comes back and it's like you look fine. Or, imaging comes back and it's like you look fine, is because most of the time, again, speaking from personal experience, the things that were happening to me were energetic and spiritually. But like the only way that your mental, your energetic, and your spiritual body can communicate with you is through your physical body, by trying to give you signs and signals of, hey, like, we need maintenance here. Hey, this is something is wrong here. And what do? We throw like napalm bombs of medicines at it that like we don't really need. We need to address the root cause of the thing. And the root cause for a lot of us is not going to be identified or fixed by an external source. Not all the time. Like I said, I'm not dismissing that there are things that literally, regardless how much of energetic or spiritual or mental work that we do, there will still be external doctors and practitioners, mind you, specific and hopefully ones who also know that it requires a whole. It requires the whole. That it's not just one thing going on, that hopefully they have the ability to understand the whole concept or approach of things. But there will still be things that you will need a very special physical doctor to address, certain things that go on with the physical body. You need all the components. But for me, when I got to the point of where like I literally had exhausted all options and I had literally thoroughly combed through everything, and I knew that like no one or nothing on the external was going to be able to help me, that's when I went inward and I started understanding and learning about a lot of things with myself and the chakra system. Really, honestly, the chakra system does affect a lot of things because it's its way of communicating with you. But you have to be able to understand your body's cues and signals, and you have to be able to understand why it's happening to you, or what your body's trying to communicate with you. There will never be a one size fits all way for this, and anybody who tries to tell you that you have to do things this one way is selling you a load of crap. There is not, and there will never be. Everybody has their own unique body. Everybody has their own unique way of way of learning, and way that their body needs to be treated or handled, right? So the way that you learn what it is that your body's saying to you, the way that your body communicates with you will always be different. And what the signs, signals, and symptoms that show up for you may be different for you than it was for me, right? But your part in this is being able to listen to and communicate with your own body, and to trust what it is that is telling you. I'll give you a big example. Like prior to me going into the hospital, like I knew this is like nutcracker syndrome thing that was going on, but like a lot of the doctors just wanted to like play in my face about it and be like, no, like that's usually asymptomatic. That's not like a thing. But then like lo and behold, it actually showed up on the CT scan, right? So had I not been vocal about that part, then they would have continued to play in my face about it and dismiss it. But I was like, "Hell no, something's going on, we gonna check this." But that was the first time out of a lot of times of me having a lot of images done that I very strongly intuitively knew, "Hey, you need to look at this. This needs to be seen. Go and get this checked out." Because I listened and trusted my intuition, it actually showed up, and y'all know how that is for us in the where we have imaging done, and then we're like, "Oh, there's something's going on," and then and not a lick, not a lick of anything shows up on that imaging. So, anyways, you understanding the whys behind things that happen to you, good, bad, and everything in between is a huge component to you being able to kind of alchemize and kind of flip the script on whatever it is that's happening to you. You can go from being somebody that is affected to being somebody that is causing, right? So instead of you being affected by the cause of someone or something else external to you, you can invoke the cause of things. You can change things. So really please use that to your advantage and be your own Sherlock Holmes and really thoroughly investigate yourself. And don't be afraid to get your hands dirty and go into the dark crevices of your inner mind, of your inner child, of your inner psyche, of all the things, within you. Go deep within your heart and soul and really look at what has been hidden either willingly or unwillingly, and unpack those things small steps of it. It's not something that you need to like dive headfirst into the deep end with, but like just really slowly kind of unpacking any shit that you are purposely trying to not deal with. Because when you don't deal with it, it's like a toxin. It just seeps out, over time and leaks small amount of poison into your body and starts affecting you physically over time until, you end up having a tower moment like me, and you show up at the hospital with the entire dashboard lit up. So your body, your physical body is a direct example of your mental, emotional, and energetic bodies. So, don't ignore it. And I know it's just easy. It's easier to just, take the medication and be off into the la la lands of things, but take the medication after you know why it's happening. Then while you're understanding the why, you can actually be healing yourself or trying to lighten the load or the energetic or mental emotional burden that is kind of contributing to whatever ails you. Understand your why and find the root cause of everything. And take accountability. Take accountability. This world really has done a number on us people of really keeping us out of our power, of really keeping us out of control of our own bodies, of our own lives, of our own power. Like I said, it just goes back to that of being cut off from your own power and your ability. The body knows exactly how to heal itself if the mind would get on board with it, right? And is usually the mind, because of the conditioning that we've received, that F's us in the process of our own healing, whether it be of emotional ails, mental ails, or physical ails. Really, the body does know what it needs and what it needs to do to kind of like navigate and get through things. But usually we kind of get in the way of that and we flail, we freak out, and we think that we can't overcome something. And again, this is not everything. Literally, there is a lot of things that really do need to have like immediate and urgent, serious medical attention and care on. Hear me out and listen to what I'm trying to tell you as just a like a general observation of life. A lot of stuff that is happening to us physically is because of us. It's because of the inability to take the accountability for what it is that we're putting into our body, what it is that we're consuming, what it is that we're associating ourselves with, where we're associating ourselves with, whom we're associating ourselves with. All of these things play a vital role in your overall health and well-being. And when you're not pouring back into yourself, when you're giving out more than you have to give, it it drains on your physical body and well-being as well. Takers have no limits. So really, you have got to have firm boundaries and be okay with just like not helping everybody. Sometimes your help needs to be earned. And sometimes, you got to let people sing, because if you help everybody, nobody will learn how to help themselves. If you're constantly always there, to pick people up before they fall, if you're constantly always there to wipe somebody's tears, or to, be the trampoline underneath their window every time they want to jump out, like, how are they going to learn? A lot of times, just like God Source Universe has done with me just now. Like, look, you see it. You saw the videos. You saw the videos of me in the hospital. You saw me getting my ass whooped. God Source Universe will let me smack my ass multiple times, and be like, hurt, didn't it? Yeah. Bet you won't do that shit again. Now get up. Like, this is God Source Universe gives very tough love, because that's how you learn the lessons. Like, if all the lessons were easy, nobody would learn shit. If life were easy, you really wouldn't learn a lot. The lessons wouldn't stick with you. They wouldn't be as meaningful. All the things, right? Um, I am no stranger to scraping my ass on that pavement, to being drug across the floor, and in the name of tough love. And so now it's time for you to give people some tough love, because you've coddled them for way too long, and people need to learn how to fend for themselves. So let people figure it out. Let people figure out how to. And not only that, if you're like me and you have been helping people and not getting paid for what it is that you do, like whether it be indirectly, they're sliding in your DMs, or like indirectly, you know what I mean? Like they come in under the guise of like friendship, and it's like, oh, I'm a friend, so help me. Like, there needs to be an equal energetic exchange, whether it is monetarily, they're paying you in money, or they're paying you in services, like they're doing something for you. If you have your own business, like whether they're helping you with the business in some way, or, like if they're close to you or local, like hell, have them help you with some shit around your house, or like they need to be paying you in some way. It needs to be reciprocal. Like, because that's how, like I said, the scales keep being unbalanced, and you start dipping into your energetic reserves that you didn't have. So you need to be seen and acknowledged for your expertise, your wisdom, your abilities, your skills, whatever the case may be, and you need to be equally reciprocated in compensation in some way. Like there has to be an equal energetic exchange for you to help people going forward. It doesn't matter in what way, shape, or form these people, like, this could be full barter system, because that's where we headed. That's where we damn headed. We ain't gonna have no money, where no kind of currency is not gonna be worth the shit. We all gonna have to be out here having to learn how to do the barter and trade system. So might as well get it popping now. Even if you on the barter system, listen, they need to be compensating you in some way, shape, or form in your abilities and services, right? Because for the rest of 2026 and beyond, please stop doing things energetically for free. You need to be compensated in some way. And it is what it is. Don't put yourself out by continuously giving to everybody, because again, just like I said, they'll see you outside sitting underneath a tree while it's raining, and all you got on is some socks and some shoes, and they'll be like, I see you still got them shoes on, let me get those up off you. But you still got them socks, let me get those up off you. Right. So have firm boundaries and tell these people, no, hell no, and get the F up out of here unless you want to pay the toll. Whatever it is, whatever the compensation is that you set, whatever. Make sure that it is equally reciprocated for you and the gifts and the services and the value that you bring. Because you and what you are and what you do is an invaluable service and an invaluable asset to not just the people, but to the world, the energy, the collective as at large. So please don't sell yourself short. Literally, quite literally, just because you have $5, just because you have $5. Just because you have $5 doesn't mean that you need to buy the $4.50 item, or just because you have $500 doesn't mean you need to buy the $480 item, because then with tags, you all in. Now you don't have anything. Your energy is your currency. So you need to bring yourself out of like the negative and pull yourself into your abundance, energetic abundance. And until you have an energetic abundance, cut these people out. And until you're in overflow where you're like, I've got trillions energetically to give, cut that out. And again, unless they are paying you, right? So that's what I have for you guys. I hope this was helpful. I hope this was insightful. I hope this helps you in some way, shape, or form. Again, take what I said at its value for what it is and apply it to your life where it may be helpful. And don't make the shoe fit if it doesn't. And that's what I have. Thank you all for all your likes, shares, subscribes, donations. Don't forget you can buy the New Earth Guidebook to Healing and Ascension on Amazon. And you can get your Love and Light but Ready to Fight merch and hoodies and stickers and all the things on my Linktree link or on my website at ascensionoraclev.com. And you can book a recorded reading with me as well, or check out my energetic diagnostics session where I will evaluate and assess where you got blocks going on, what you got going on, and what best needs to be done to get you to your highest self and rectify the situations, whatever it is that I may find. So I'll do a little initial pre-recorded reading for you to scope your energy, and then we'll do a Zoom call to discuss the things that I found. And again, like I said, how we can address them, and then you guys can kind of vent about whatever it is that you have going on at the time, and we'll sort through it. But if any of these things appeal to you, you know what to do. I'll see you guys. Peace.